And we have a lot of people in the house with an interesting topic for you.
My name is Enobon Robin, and I think I'm going to be sad the whole time.
Why?
The table you are trying to shake, I'm sitting on it. But it's okay, so let's meet you.
I'm Miriam Lemo. I'm a motivational speaker. I'm also a marriage counselor.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm Halima Usman. I'm the chairperson of the Association of Nigerian Authors. I work with the federal government, and I'll also do a lot of public speaking.
Great.
I'm Kevin Fineface, motivational speaker, thought leader, public good advocate, ensuring that we all have the right to act like humans.
Yes, very true and very necessary. Thank you. We're talking today about coping with long-distance relationships, and like Enobonso, we're shaking the table that she's sitting on. We'll talk about that in a minute. I think I'll give you the first thoughts to talk about it in a minute. But before we do that, we'll hear about long-distance relationships and how people cope from the streets. We'll be right back after this.
Long-distance relationship is not really advisable because you don't really get to keep in touch. Even if you keep in touch with each other on the phone, you don't really know what the other one is doing and what he has in mind. So it's not really advisable. Your dates might be cheating on you and you might not really know because you are here and he is there.
Actually, I like a long-distance relationship. I like it because I'm here now. For example, I'm here now, I'm working. My girlfriend is your other side, For me to say people should stay together when we are not already married, I can say that will give me some kind of issue, stopping my work, all this kind of thing. But if she's far, myself, I'm here, we are working, we can be seen once, twice in a week.
She's always spiritually with you. You have to manage yourself because you have to make sure that you keep the faithfulness. You vow to see how two of you can manage yourself. Even when you are far, you should be able to manage yourself because the distance is not a barrier to the affections you have. And you have vowed to keep that serenity, that faith in you for her, and she has also vowed. So a woman too has the onus down on her to also manage herself as you manage yourself too. So we could talk on phone, my guy, how far? How are you doing? She will also talk. That affection, there's that telepathy, and you create some level of a very high level of affection and sensitivity. That even when you are not there, you are thinking of her. And in that reaction, she will also show that affection that my husband is thinking of me. And if she has even anything to think of, she will say, this guy is there for me, and I'm here for him.
Nice.
I'm always like my spinal cord. As in when she's not around, I'm lifeless. So most times she's not around, I have to do the house chores. And when she's around, she does everything. Although I assist her sometimes, but most times I just sit down and watch her and tell her well done. But now she's not around, I have to call my siblings or I have to not get a maid that come in the morning, in the evening, just to clean up the stuffs, wash some clothes, cook. Although when she travels for long, she kind of leaves food stuff for me, but I don't really cook much, so it's not easy. So it's hell, trust me, but I'm trying to cope. The way the surroundings as an environment, so it's not encouraging for a man without a wife. But I tend to play a lot of video games, play a lot of music, just try and keep my thoughts intact and all that. It's hell, trust me, but I'm coping. So far, I'm coping.
It's not easy for me to stay without her because I have a young family and the kids. Staying with them, taking them to school is not easy, except we need to have a household.
For most women, it will be time to take a holiday from the kitchen, if you know what I mean. And of course, get some time to yourself, time to sleep and all that. But again, if it's a long time, if the man is away for a long time, again, for people like me, I tend to become a bit edgy, and then it's time to be on the phone most of the time. Otherwise, for those of us who are career women, as you can see, our job becomes, we take solace in our job.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh,
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And the other one said, Auntie, it's not about me, it's about the guys. They're not ready to marry.
Yes. If she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. There was a day I got tired of all that and I said,
I don't think in gender boxes at all. I just get on with it.
A man that would dare to ask the wife, who do you think you are? That is a real man.
In fact, our husbands are our firstborns. The husband needs more attention than even the children.
It's not only about work, it's not only about family. They need to take the time to look after themselves, and we don't. We don't do that.
They took my money. I paid every fees. I never asked to be hoisted as a governor. I wanted to be allowed to go out there and contest for the position of governorship candidate first.
There's nothing greater than looking back and seeing that while you were aspiring, you were able to inspire others.
Empower to women. Yes, we need to have more women, more multitaskers around Nigeria to get Nigeria working.
Definitely.
It's Conversations here on NTA, and we're talking about coping with long-distance relationships. I'm sure we all have our stories to tell, but let's start with the marriage counselor in the house, Miriam. Long-distance relationships, especially in terms of marriage, sometimes you can't help but find yourself in that situation. I was in that situation with my husband for some years. Some of the family members are very happy about it, but sometimes it's inevitable. How are you supposed to manage?
Well, it's really quite difficult. It's very challenging and very straining on any relationship, on spouses as well as on the children. And it actually has some long-term damaging effects when both partners aren't together to raise the children as a couple, to give them this not only feeling of warmth and companionship and protection that they are with in a normal, typical family, but it affects children in the long run psychologically. We can go into that a little bit later. But How does one cope? How does one manage? Technology today has made things quite easy. I know my children were living out of the country at one point in school, and I had an opportunity, of course, to go through, or I went through the depression of anxiety of separation and so on. However, using technology, we were able to use Skype, FaceTime, and other mediums to be able to feel like we're together. So we chat every day, we see each other's faces, and I think for relationships, that's going to be very important. If you find yourself in a situation where it's inevitable that you have to be separated, maybe due to work or any other circumstances. So I think the technology has helped tremendously. If it's finding solutions, that is definitely one.
I don't know if Halima or Kevin, you have any stories of where...
No, actually, when she started, our introduction, I'm like, oh, really? But we're in the technological age. Why can't we deploy technology? And she just hits at it.
Yes.
Technology makes it quite easier. You won't actually feel the absence of the other partner because if you're... I often say, look, what's the most important is effective communication when it comes to relationship.
Yeah.
Your intentions should be clear as much as your actions are. Because if your intentions are not aligned with your actions, automatically it would create a strain. No matter the benefit with which you are being apart for, it will create a strain. Once it's effective, there's honesty, I bet you there'll be acceptance. And then what happens is adaptability, even for the children, because you can Skype at a particular time, they know they're expecting a Skype or a WhatsApp video these days comes up, or you have a Togo or Tango, all of this different media that is available for people to utilize. So once we can deploy that, if it's absolutely necessary for the parties to stay apart for the purpose of the good of the family, then why not the sacrifices and adapt to what it needed to be adapted? And then there's something I also add to that, which means that if you get to know your personality type before getting involved in a relationship, you can actually draw a balance and create the right incentives for the purpose of the distance that you will be. Although abuse is inevitable, that's because of ineffective communication. If there is an effective communication, abuse will be minimal. You can actually have a successful relationship, staying apart for a short period or for a long period. Because there's always a time where you can actually come have that reconciliatory position, where there's no, if we Skype every day, we talk every now and then, every 1 minute you know where the other person is, where he's going to, where she's going to. There's no way you can actually have that challenge. It's when you don't have that, then you find out that they say the idle mind is a devil's workshop.
Okay. That model doesn't work for me and my husband. We don't talk every. We kind of we check in on each other. Our calls aren't more than a minute and a half. Then at the end of the day, then we can sit down and talk. I'm not a WhatsApp call person. You won't find me on a long WhatsApp call ever.
Personality type. Personality type.
We communicate quite well.
Because if your husband is a soul mate type of individual, he likes oftentimes want to know what's happening. If you are the type that you're more of an achievement-driven person, of course you won't have the time to want to talk, because for you, talking is waste of time.
Okay.
There needs to be a balance. There needs to be understanding. Talking is waste of time. If he's always coming to talk, what's this guy? What's his call now? He's calling again. Let me wait.
Because some guys use it to, well, not my husband, but some other guys use it as close marking. My cousin, her fiance used to do that all the time. So where are you now? Okay, so what are you guys doing? Okay, so I can hear something in the background. Are you sure you're at home?
Do you know why?
It drives some of us crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can.
Do you know why that's so? I said something about ineffective communication and dishonest presentation. If you're not communicating well, you give room for suspicion. It's not the other person's fault that the person's actually suspecting you. It's your fault that you're being suspected.
Okay.
Quite frankly. Because see, there's no reason why you tell me you're going to see Nike at Gariki, then the next thing you're at Wuse 2. There was no communication to that effect. Then the next time again, it happens again. You have done this thing consistently. They've not been a concrete approach of your steps, your communication. What I would do, in my mind, if I have an investigative mind, is to begin to put those pieces together. Last time she said she was going to Gariki, she was in Wuse, now again this. And after a while, what happens is that I will ask you a question based on your communication. You'll be offended. You didn't have any intention to do anything funny, but you've not been communicating effectively to me. I'm only reacting and responding to your own conversation. Now we're in conversation, so we need to actually know that.
Yes, I know.
So basically, you guys are talking about relationship between man and wife. You haven't nailed that. Before you get into the process of being man and wife, there is this courtship. When you're just in a relationship and you're not married.
Yeah.
There are different types of relationships. So what happens when you're in a relationship with a guy you're not married to? You're in a relationship with, some people have a female best friend, you don't have any blood connection, oath or anything, and you have to find a way to communicate. People don't know when you draw a line between communication as a chore, like okay, let us just talk, anyhow, and you communicating with somebody because you really want to, you make the person look forward to it. People miss the line. I cannot be at work. I cannot be working and you feel it's okay for you to call me and talk to us. Uncle, I'm not going to do that. So yes, even if there is WhatsApp, there is this, there is that, there has to be a line But you see, sometimes what we have in the books, what we have on the social media, it's different from what actually is the reality when you're in a relationship with somebody. We can stay here and make assumptions. Oh, there is WhatsApp. Oh, there is Skype. Oh, there is this. But sometimes it's really challenging. Really,
let me come in here. Let me come in
It is really challenging.
Yeah, you're actually right. That's very true. It can be very challenging. But like he said from the very beginning, before you go into any relationship, I think what is most important is for you to know who you are. Know your personality. So that you tell the other person, this is the kind of person I am. I love to be on the computer 24/7. I love to, but please, I don't like too much discussions. I'm a public speaker, yes. I do a lot of writing, but I don't like too much discussion on the phone. Hello, how are you? No. Let's hit the nail, discuss what is important, and just get away. Those are there. But you need to understand who you are. And let the partner know the kind of person you are, what times are convenient for you to talk, and what times are not convenient for you to talk.
Effective communication.
If that is just the bottom line, you need to understand and have effective communication line with the two of you.
See, what she said, right? Let me just add this. What I've found out recently is that a lot of relationships have actually turned out to be secret service relationships.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We're doing FBI.
You know, you see, you begin to look for ways to, undermine the other person without even knowing you're actually undermining the other person. You are in a relationship, this person that is one distance from you. You're not married yet, but you plan to get married. What are the things you've actually laid out on the table to discuss and agree on? We assume things and expect the other person to become magicians or mind readers to know what we intend to want to do or say or act or how we expect them to behave with us without necessarily asking things. You don't even know that asking is a gift that you need to deploy in your relationship. I would prefer you come here at XYZ time, and this is the time I need to actually spend. It's a demand. You ask, effectively. The person will understand. Give the person the opportunity to also understand what you're saying, not assuming that the person has actually understood and you drop the phone. You need to be sure you are heard clearly, understood clearly, so you can actually do the thing that is expected. So if there is a shortfall of that expectation, it's also in your place to communicate that. The last time I made demand of this, you didn't meet up this demand. It affected me. It's effective communication. If you're not doing that, what will happen over time is that you become repulsive. You begin to see yourself acting in some manners that's not expected. This same person that you say, man, the best thing that's happened to you is becoming a major problem to you all of a sudden. And it looks like it's bewitched or she's bewitched. No, it is because we're not communicating effectively. So we can
if I may
that.
add, with regard to the question you asked is how do you cope, what do you do, find solutions. I think the relationship goes the communication goes beyond just talking. Obviously, your spouse has needs. Intimacy needs as well, and I think that's where this thing to do with suspicion comes into play. So obviously from the foundation, how you searched for your spouse, the kind of person you attracted, is this person who already has this as part of their character, and so most likely are more likely to do such things after they get married, extramarital affairs. But I remember when I was counseling a gentleman who had actually had an affair, and he said, and it was actually a long-distance relationship, and he said, man, no be wood. And this issue to do with loyalty from the get-go, how you establish the culture in the relationship is so critical. I know I've been married, actually, will be about 27 years this year in September. And the relationship my husband and I have built over so many years, and I travel a lot. So in as much as I'm not living out of the country for a long time, we do have to keep in touch and communicate and try and find effective ways of pleasing each other and making sure we keep each other top of our minds, so that so when we talked about my people who will be texting or sending you messages at work, we have our routines. My husband and I, even at work, on a good day, on an average day, if I've not heard from him before the end of the day, I know something isn't right. He just sends me a message. He doesn't interrupt my work, and we do a lot of if I may use this word, sexting. But these are things that strengthen the relationship, makes you wanted and keeps anticipation for when you do get together. We're talking in a healthy relationship where the couples are loyal to one another. So ways to improve or strengthen and keep that bond still close and strong. In addition to using technology, these other means of communicating.
A friend of mine told me that he couldn't let his wife go on study leave abroad, primarily because man no be wood.
Yeah.
Isn't that holding her back somehow?
You see, that's holding her back. But you see, another thing I do personally, you won't believe that I still do letter writing. So yes, I mean, let him just see the handwriting. Yeah, it's expensive to send letters to the UK, but I do it. 16.5, you will, yes, just write a letter, and then basically we're talking every day, and then you're receiving a post, like a letter from me, like it doesn't make, but you see, there's something because about it. Then I send emails. I send email, like I know that yesterday I sent my email, like, oh, I'm just sending this email to say I love you.
Exactly.
As simple as that, but I know he hasn't seen that email. Because he will respond, but you see, it goes beyond WhatsApp, text messages. Try surprise him. Well, and the good part about distance relationship that you learn to develop yourself. You learn to be your own happy person.
Yes.
So while he's there, while you are here, be happy without him.
Okay.
You know, do your own stuff. If you want to go and get a lunch in an exotic restaurant, go and do it. If you feel you want to dress up, dress up, take a picture, send to him, do it, be happy, because sometimes when you're together with a man or somebody, you may not really, there are days when you want to be on your own.
Yeah.
There are days when you just want to have it, like you just, especially when women, when we're in the PMS period, like that time when you like, listen, avoid me. Stay away from me. So yes, there's so many ways to cope with this thing, but personally I feel like this is the period for me to develop myself, get my career going, because I know last month he was like, okay, do you want to come over? And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. We are not married, so I'm not going to come and live under your shadow. Like, even if we were married, I still don't want to come over. Like, I don't even want it. So whatever you are doing, when you're done, come back to me, you know. We'll figure it out, but for now I feel like I'm still growing. I need to develop myself. But even with that, I make him miss me. I make him want to communicate, make him want to, but different people have different ways of coping. So I think we all should, I mean, you've been in English, how did you cope?
I was just about to even ask about the element of surprise that you were talking about. Would you show up where your guy is unannounced? Would you go to your husband's office unannounced just to spice it up?
No, but because I trust, we do have a relationship.
Yeah, just element of surprise. Oh, hey, here I am with lunch. I would
say what we normally do is we just call each other and say, meet me at home just for 20 minutes, and I leave you to fill in the blanks. But,
please do.
But no, on a serious note, those are things that we try to do. I'm not going to look at anyone else. We try to make sure we keep the relationship strong. Yes. We mean the world to each other, and our children mean the world to us. And we make sure that we are in touch and communicate regularly, and we do everything in our power to make sure we feel valued. When he was talking about effective communication, as humans, we all have needs. Some people, they're not into the affection and the intimacy thing. Others are into gifts, like the 5 love languages.
Yes.
It's so important that you do get to know your spouse's love language and the 6 human needs, the feeling of security, or sense of security, feeling validated. Every human being wants to feel wanted, wants to feel this sense of belonging. Yes, that you're ready to fight for me. And we have built our relationship purely based on making sure, first, I understand his needs, he understands mine through effective communication, and then we're able to deposit in the right currency.
Yes.
For instance, he may be depositing in Naira and I want euros. For somebody, it could be, they say, oh, I want quality time, which a lot of women will ask for.
Yes,
and what if the guy says, quality time, come, let's watch a game of football. And you're like, no, I want to watch football. So you have to make sure that you are depositing in the right currency, that it's something this person will appreciate, will find valuable and meaningful. And it doesn't need to be anything big, elaborate, but you have to understand your spouse, their unique needs, wants, and fantasies, and then go out of your way, because you married this person for life.
Yes.
You gave birth to your children for life. They didn't ask to be born. You chose to get married. So you do have to do everything in your power to make it work, and bring out all your big guns and do, I guard my marriage jealously.
Speaking of children, where the couple for economic reasons need to stay in different cities, who do you think the children should be with ideally? I know a lot of people say the mom, but sometimes the dads are actually like moms.
What do you think the kids will be with, depending on the personality type of the spouses?
Oh, okay.
There are men who are like mothers.
Yes.
And then there are mothers who are like men.
I know.
They don't have any motherly care.
Yeah.
They have the baby, so one person will take care of it.
Yeah. No, but
It's
funny, when I
depends,
had my
yes.
children,
Yeah.
my husband, we lived in the United States at the time. Sincerely, I know a lot of men may not like this, but he did the diapers. I would express my milk and he would take it because he wanted to feel that bonding with the children, like a mother would feel breastfeeding. So I would express the milk and he would bottle feed them so that he gets to hold them until they fall asleep in his arms. And he did so many of the babysitting, and we both had different schedules for our work, so we were able to balance things out.
And
However, to answer your question about who should be, I think it really depends on the circumstances.
And there was no time you actually tried to domesticate him, isn't it?
Absolutely not.
Beautiful. I said this
not.
before now. See, men oftentimes want to truly serve, but the moment they feel domesticated, they become very rebellious.
What do you mean by domestication? For the purpose of people who've never heard
sometimes
of
we see
Yeah.
that she said she pressed the milk and the husband helps with all of that. For some women who lack the understanding, they begin to see that as a responsibility of the man to take care of, and begin to give marshalling out, schedules.
They take advantage. They exploit it.
They marshal out schedules for the man to do. Every man will kick against it, even if that's desire he wants to actually do that. Because the moment you program a man to become domesticated, it becomes rebellious.
Yeah.
But
He's
if you
something
allow
like an African man, you know.
No. If you allow him, every woman a woman is the most powerful being on earth. She is. If you allow any woman to become the true lady that she is, she will be served. But where she begins to stand as a competitor or act like someone who can do, she sees a competitor who wants to take her out of the way. So the marriage is like that. She says something that's very instructive for me, which is one word I heard was innovation. Being able to innovatively relate with your spouse based on their need. You can't love someone other than how they want you to love them. Buy a Ferrari for a woman, thinking that's your way of showing love. All she needed was an iPhone X.
Or just talk to me.
Or just talk to me.
Just give me a hug. Tell me sorry with your mouth.
I think you should be asking me because my husband has been out of town for over 6 years now.
No way.
Sorry with your mouth.
How have you coped? Tell us.
Exactly.
Tell us.
So I
Tell
was
us.
waiting for this. Actually, it's not easy. Let's be frank.
What?
It's not easy. I have the children here with me. He is there working where he is, and sometimes I'm telling you that there are times that you just want him there because to validate something. Probably you're passing an instruction to the children.
Yes.
And you just need him not to do too much, but just to
back you up.
To back you up or to
Like this one, I need you to
yes, of
tell
course.
them you're going to flog them. Tell them.
It's not even the flogging.
No, the man
sometimes
figure.
there are information
security.
you pass. The man, when he comes and say, your mom just said this, why don't you? It settles it.
Yes,
You know, sometimes the children get too used to us. You know, sometimes there's a limit to which you can tell the child, do this. You have to stand on your foot actually with the children. But there are times you really need a man just to validate. That's one with the children.
Okay.
Personally, there are times I wake up, I have this great idea in my mind. Actually, sometimes I don't sleep because I am running 24/7 with this idea of that. And you just want to hey, honey, I'm thinking of this thing, and he's not there. And maybe you want to call him at that time, network, anything can happen.
Anything.
And then you find yourself, see, it's not easy. But then again, it all boils back to understanding yourself, understanding the other person. When you have the opportunity, make the most of it.
Hallelujah.
Pass as much information.
So how often do you get to see him, or does he come over? Do you go over once a year, once a month?
Actually, initially we do the rotating. He comes and I go,
Yes.
But he is staying in Maiduguri.
Ah, okay.
So at a point, I think the last time I went, we had to sleep on the road because of the security challenge. So I think that was the end of it. I told him, you see, you're alone there. In fact, he was the one that told me, said, see, I will be coming. You have the kids, just stay there. I will come. It's safer for me to come than you come and something happens on the road. They say run to the bush, because that was exactly what the soldiers came and told us. If you hear any gunshot, just take the other way and run into the bush. And when it's settled, we'll come and let you know. I said, oh my, we didn't sleep that night. So that was the last time I actually traveled. So yeah, it's not easy coping. There are so many
crazy.
things. There are so many things you need. Sometimes it's just like I said, I'm not the kind of person that love to chat too much on the phone. But the little time you had just to like say one or two things, goes a long way.
It does.
And then another thing is that the gesticulations, the movements, there are things you don't need to say by mouth. By action, by facial expressions and things like that, you get the message. So these are things you actually miss when you are in a long distance relationship. It's not easy.
You literally miss holding hands. As simple as holding someone's hands.
Sometimes I'm passing my husband in the corridor and we high five each other like.
As simple as holding someone's hands can make you cry.
Yeah.
It is that bad.
I know.
Can I mention I have a concern? But go ahead.
It is, so I have moments when he's like, okay, no, you need to understand. No, you need to understand. This is it. This work, there's school, there's this. No, I'm sorry, but you need to understand. And I'm like, okay, I'm understanding. I say it, but here I am shaking. I'm one person that I get very nervous. People just see me strong, but when I'm in a relationship, I'm like a vegetable. So it's like, okay, I understand. Okay, I understand. And then I have tears in my eyes. But I end the call and I'm feeling sad just because someone told me to understand. And I'm like, how do you expect me to understand? You need to give me details. Where are you going to? Who are you seeing? How long are you staying? When are you coming back? Wow. Yes. This is me. Like, I am very demanding. I am very, so sometimes I try to pretend that, okay, look, you know what? You said be understanding, so keep your space. But no, give me 5 minutes. I'm calling you back. Okay, just tell me, where are you? Just tell me, what are you doing? Okay, this last time I won't call again. So it's crazy. It's tensioning you.
Yeah, but there's even an application, a device with your phone. You plug it in, you can actually have your touches through an app.
Really?
For real? Because
I think I draw the line at that.
Hold on. Explain this. What are you saying?
You said you're talking about touch. See, we're talking about being innovative, right?
Looking
room for understanding. You can actually close your ranks, irrespective of the distances, by virtue of using technology. We're trying to make things simpler, it's understanding that makes everything work in every relationship. Communication is a life wire of every relationship, right? Effective communication is beyond the life wire, it's a sustaining strand that holds the relationship. And so to be effective in your communication means also, what are the alternatives that you can actually deploy to still have a similitude, not pseudo, a similitude of what you should have ordinarily had. The placebo effect, it helps, right? The placebo effect helps. We can't continue to be very traditional and expect a different results. In our relationship, we also need to be innovative. What are the ways we can? Those touches, you get tired of it after a while also. Please don't touch me.
Way.
No, I'm going somewhere. All right. I'm going somewhere, because sometimes you say,
you mean the phone touch or what?
No, not the phone touch.
It's physical touch, I'm sorry.
Don't touch me. There's sometimes you say, don't touch me.
But most times we say, don't touch me. That doesn't mean we really mean don't touch me.
When I tell you don't touch me, don't touch me.
You see what I'm saying?
You haven't figured out the code.
You haven't figured out the code. So, because, see, my late pastor once said, he said, a woman has about 21 life wire working through her. So sometimes you get confused to know which one to relate with. A man has about 7. And so there's a whole confusion because the same thing you did yesterday that made her smile can offend her today.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bam.
So you need to know her mood.
Innovation. You need to know. You need to be able to. Sometimes you have to use signals to be sure. You have to be monitoring. Is this signal really clear? because if it's not really clear, you try it, you'll be amazed. What you do as a man, you recline and have the understanding. Okay, one of those moments. You say they don't come. You can actually say that. People are there, right? Kind of use that jokingly, so that you don't get because a man that is rejected is actually a type of domestic abuse.
It is.
And not just a man, both ways.
Both ways. Yes, both ways. I agree with you.
Wait. So you're saying saying I have a headache is domestic abuse? Is that what you're saying?
No, not saying
psychological abuse. Which one?
You knew. See, let's not pretend about it. You saw the signals. You prepared yourself to say no.
Depriving him, he means.
You prepared yourself to say no without necessarily giving the person the opportunity to say, this was it. There was no offer. He said, please. You stop him from his tracks. You're laughing. You can't do it.
can just visualize it,
He
yes.
stops in his tracks, reclines like a dog that's beaten in his neighborhood with his tail in between his legs. That's domestic abuse.
Okay,
because that takes away his self-esteem. He won't know.
Yeah.
Are you serious right now?
Yeah.
Yes,
She agrees with
She agrees
with him.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, you build, he has anticipation, he's expecting something, and you
saw
have
it
not
coming.
seen the signals, or you saw and you ignored, and then when he's ready to make his advances, you now just put him down.
Shut him down.
In a way that is not, that is cruel.
Yeah.
So, what if you are posing? It's called posing.
It's not posing. As spouses, we know the signals to look out for. The radar goes off that, like, okay, this is what's going on. But I just wanted to come up from another angle with regard to the distance relationship is, in our African culture, we are quick to have children. And 9 months after marriage, everybody starts like, where is this? Is there something wrong with you? Are you sick? When you find yourself, and this is a big concern for me, and I talk about this often, is the fact that newlyweds need to go through a period of getting to know you, understanding each other, adjusting. Then you also might happen to be newlyweds who have careers that are very demanding. To bring a child into a world like that, when you aren't ready to be a true parent, to raise this child properly, has affected a lot of us today.
Yeah.
When we think of the kind of attention our parents gave us when we were young,
Yeah.
the society obviously has changed so much. But when you look at what has changed, it is morals and values that are being diluted, and we are importing other people's cultures that are not really okay for us and trying to become what we are not. So for me, my biggest concern with this kind of distant relationships is, first of all, knowing what your career is like. Are you really ready to be a parent? Because like I said earlier, this child didn't ask to be born.
Yeah.
But when they come into this world, you owe them a lot. You owe them security, you owe them shelter, you owe them love, you owe them a good education, and you need to teach them values so they don't become dysfunctional or menaces to society. Those are all responsibilities parents have. And so with regard to being a couple and leaving one parent responsible for raising this child, it can affect society in the long run, because if it's a boy you have, a boy needs a male role model at a certain point in his life, from ages 7 upwards, most likely. If he doesn't start seeing how a man is supposed to behave, what he's supposed to do in different situations, he won't grow up with that holistic experience that a child is supposed to have. So for me, that is a big concern with long-distance relationship. First of all, if you're newlyweds, take your time. Do it when you are ready to become parents, especially if there's a risk that you won't be involved, that both parties won't be committed to raising these children. So that's just another point I wanted
I need to add to what she just said. You know, sometimes before we get married, you know, there are, especially nowadays, we have too many contracted marriages. We just want to marry because of our parents, because of
pressure,
business, pressure, different things. At the end of the day, these are the things that really affect. If you're not together, even if you're together, it has a lot of effects on the marriage, sustaining the marriage. Talk more of when you're not together, you know. So these are all things you need to put into consideration, apart from knowing yourself, knowing, are you ready after marriage to have children? When are you going to have the children? You also need to know, why exactly are you going into this relationship?
Funny, I took 6 years before we reached, my husband and I, 6 years before we had our first child.
And that was
and it was deliberate. During premarital getting to know you period, we talked about it, and he said he knows how important my role is as a parent in the relationship, how much influence as a mother I have over the children. And he says, I know you're not ready now. And I want to make sure that by the time we have the kids, you are ready to be a real mother. And it took me 6 years before I said, look, Said, I'm ready.
Oh, wow.
And by the time we had them, we were both so involved. Like I said, he was really, really involved in helping with everything, even the cooking during the time I had the kids. He did everything.
In your bonk's face, looking so like,
because
really possible?
Yeah,
I was just saying that. What she's saying,
and he's a Nigerian African man.
What he's saying is the way I feel, because I know at some point in my life you were like, okay, do we just get married and have kids? I'm like, that is the worst thing you've talked about. Children. I'm not ready for kids.
Yeah.
I literally, if my friend has a baby, I can't see the baby until 3 months, because I literally cry seeing a baby. That is how scared I am. So it's like, okay, wait, so I'm going to change, like I'm going to be breastfeeding, I'm going to...
be responsible.
I'm not
for
psychologically ready. And there are so many people who are like me, but then marry and start having kids.
But you're able to communicate that with your partner.
I will tell you.
And is ready to accept that.
Yes.
Now, there's something I see couples do. We pretend about our intentions, hoping that this other person will change
their mind.
We'll get into and change the goalposts in the middle of the road. That brings conflict. It's rare, quite frankly, to wait for 6 years. Mine wasn't up to 1 year, and in-laws are already calling. You know? And I'm fine. I don't have any problem because I did all my tests. So if you think the best time will be. It's also very important that couples are actually very ready. Very, very ready, irrespective of the pressure or your affluence or whatever. You should be very, because parenting, not for children. Parenting is actually for matured adults. But what we find these days, that's why we have delinquencies all over everywhere.
The world is going crazy.
We are 95% of our environment, and 5% of us comes from us. That's what they call the nurture by nature, side of things. So if that is the case, if we're not making sure that the environment with which we're living in actually can accommodate, educate us the right way, begin to have kids who will grow up to become something else.
Exactly. And you see, if we don't give them the best within this period, this window, moments of their learning,
they're gone.
They're gone.
They're gone.
And tomorrow
You lose
we begin
them.
to complain about children. You don't complain of a child when he's way over 12, 15. You do it when he's still young. You begin to shape him, mold him, tell him what to do. My husband is not around. But what I do with my son is I sit down with him and say, you see, these are the things that are expected of a man. Again, we women too have a lot of role to play with children, and especially with our men. Because we train them to become men.
Exactly.
If you don't teach them the right thing, they will grow up and become, let me use, wayward men. Their wives will be complaining. I always tell my child that if I hear your wife complain about you, I wouldn't take it lightly. I will come to your house. I used to say it jokingly. I'll come to your house. I'll flog you. I say it jokingly. But then I do make out time to sit down with him, especially the boy, and tell him that these are the things that are expected. I say it is your role as the head of the family to do certain things, to provide for your family, provide for your children, do this and this and this and this. Your wife will support you, yes, but I just want him to have that sense of self-responsibility, that sense of self-respect. When you reach that, you have that in your head. Every other thing is secondary. So you know that I'm going into this relationship, I'm going to have children, and what is expected of me. But we have to start it early. So if my husband or my children don't get the message now, they will grow up and marry, and then the problem continues. And then
it's a vicious circle.
Effect on the society. All these problems we're having in the society. I remember the other time I was here, we're talking about family and things like that. I said this thing, the reason why we have so much vices in the society is not government, it's not bad leadership, it's absentee parenting. Is what we have injected in these children. You see, from certain age, a child resembles his parent. He talks like his parent, he imitates, he does a lot of things. By the time he starts growing now, that's when he begins to think. Influence comes, he begins to think of his own and do things. But once you have laid the right foundation from the very beginning, the changes that will come later in life will be minimal. They will not really shake up the boy or shake up the girl too much. They will not change everything about the child too much. So we need to start it from the very beginning.
So I have a question for Miriam. Sorry, let me just let you finish what you were saying.
Okay, I was just going to say, so we need to start early, and then all of this again. We were talking about long distance relationships. So it all depends on who you are, how you grow up, what you believe in yourself, how you see yourself, your self-esteem and things like that. She talked about all this being suspicious, where it all starts from how you were raised.
But I have a question. So what happens to parents who send their kids from nursery school to boarding house? How do you... I mean, that's another relationship.
That is just cruelty.
Because you've sent them away. Okay, you want your own time.
Yes.
But, that is... you've missed... Nursery school, they're in boarding house. Secondary school in boarding house. University, they're in the hostel. You don't have kids any longer.
Why did you?
That's
You don't
completely
have.
not it.
But
This
is the situation that they are facing.
Nursery.
Yes, from primary school. There are schools who are from nursery school.
Primary schools that have boarding.
That's the height of irresponsibility of a parent.
What happens in that situation? How do they
say height of irresponsibility? It is just actually the fact some parents are actually not prepared for getting into that.
So why have them?
They were not prepared. More so the fact that the society, I always like going back to the society, which is like the family, which is our bedrock. If mothers will nurture mostly, are speaking the right words into the child's mind, it will form an opinion at a very early age, which is more like an indoctrinating thing. Because when you have the opportunity to breastfeed, it's also the time to do it. As you're weaning, you're also trying to do molding that child's future while breastfeeding. You see people who, I think I call them misroads. Forgive me to use the word misroads, in the sense that they were not prepared of being mothers because society makes some kind of pressure and they get into motherhood and realize that the responsibility is huge. Even when the husband is very supportive, they just want the babies outside to be with other caregivers. They pay the money, they go visit. There are people like that. They have psychological problems. Let's face that. Okay, they have psychological problem. Now there are those that it's absolutely necessary. I met a young guy, has 3 kids, the wife just one day bail out. She couldn't take it anymore, had this midlife crisis situation, and she bailed out, left the kids, 2, 4, and 6. The guy had no option because he had a job doing, no family members or anything. He had no option but to look for a way to put them in the boarding house, where there be caregivers to visit and all of that and those things like that. For a short period though. So you have scenarios like that. You can understand that. So if the society, right, if we begin to place the right values and ensuring that those values are inculcated into the lives of our kids, they will grow to become better kids, because kids will always do what we do, not what we say. You know, they're like sponges. They do what we do. They see it. Oh, daddy is always not there. A child has asked the father, you know, what's the best man? The father, you know, narrated, put out the features of the best father, rather. And after I said that, so that means mommy is the best father.
Correct.
You know, because of what the mother was doing, and the father wasn't doing. Then it struck him to realize that, wait a minute, it's not the money I'm bringing home. I need to actually spend time with these kids to do things. That brought the change. Right? I do cooking when the needs arises. I do it. But if I'm domesticated, I reject it.
I'm interested in statistics. I know you counsel couples, young and old. Let's say you talk to 10 couples. Just how many of them are in long-distance relationships? Because it seems to be a lot more prevalent. Yes, it seems a lot more common now than back then when, you know, when I was growing up, for instance.
It is more common now. However, I don't have any numbers with regard to any any statistics or any survey that's been conducted. However, this word absentee parents is a big issue. You know, when you go down to the root cause of why kids go on drugs, is because of neglect. Sometimes one or both parents are absent and they now find a new model, a friend, peer pressure, and they give into it. So definitely looking at the trend right now, that where we're headed in this country and the kind of vices we are seeing, it goes back down to good old family values going out of the window. And unfortunately, parents not focused on being parents. Most of them are focused on their careers. They feel they want to make it so that they can live comfortably with their family, whereas the bare necessities are actually okay. It's lack of contentment, and you know, we want to give our kids things far better than what we ever had in life. I believe strongly in make sure you raise your children to be better than you, greater than you, but don't spoil them. Don't ever give them too much.
Before we started this conversation, you know, I was reading something on my phone. Somebody sent me a message on WhatsApp, and it's a research, and they were asking about child abuse. And funny enough, I saw 6, 7, 8 years children, 9, 10, 11, 12 talking. They were saying it. My dad and mom are not always around. They're traders, so I'm staying with auntie. This does this and that to me, uncle this. You see, all of this have a way of affecting this long distance relationship, this absentee parenthood. You know, it has a way of affecting everything. Sometimes we don't even know that our children are already into certain things that we think they're that innocent. But because we are always absent, like me now, I feel very bad sometimes. I have to sit down with my children and tell them, I say, see, I feel very bad that I'm not always around because I go to work in the morning, you come back maybe around 4 p.m. and I may not be around until maybe 5, 6, I come back home. Sometimes even worse than that when I have work to do, but I feel bad, and then I try to make up to them. But then there are times that the parents are not even there completely. My husband is not around, and then maybe I'm a trader, I stay in the market, I need to make some more money for the family, and the children are left all by themselves. They go out, they do a lot of things you don't know. This has great effect on the family value chain at the end of the day. But if you look at it at the end of the day, we have virtually destroyed the future of these children by just being absent.
Exactly.
There's also a religious angle to this, where we think, okay, God will take care of these kids. I've heard the mother said that it doesn't matter if the mothers are there or not. The kids will become what they will become in the future. And I look at it really. I know what I said. I said motherhood doesn't fit you. You can actually give birth, but you not become the mother, because motherhood is nurturing, is the care. It's the bonding, it's ensuring that this child is properly going to the stage where the child becomes a better person for the society. Marriage is a lifelong experience. It's supposed to be something that makes us to have an harmonious society. All of this is a design. God actually designed all of these things to make life better for us. But because we lack understanding, we abuse these things and begin to create unnecessary excuse for those things. Absentee, why would they say absentee parenthood? Or here, single motherhood. There's nothing like single motherhood. You're a mother, you're a mother. There's no single motherhood. There's not like single fatherhood. You're a father, you're a father. Do what you're supposed to do as a parent, and ensuring that your partners, your partner has the right, what do you call it, ingredients into this meal you're trying to prepare. If you want to do it, if you're from Indian Bronx place now, you want to prepare afefere, what you call afefere, you must be sure the ingredients are all complete.
If not, it's not. It's actually the family mindset. Regardless of whether it's a long-distance relationship or not, it's how do you view your marriage? How do you view your family, the unit, this beautiful thing you're trying to put together? And obviously things like infidelity do not feature. Loyalty to each other, establishing the good values and making sure the kids grow up feeling loved. You play with them, you wrestle with them. I swear till today my son is 21 and the other one is 18. They are still doing WWE with their dad, and she keeps swearing, Mariam, they're going to break me one of these days because they're bigger than all of us. They're taller than us, but they are wrestling the way they did when they're kids, and it's like it lasts. It's a lifetime thing, and I can promise you, they most likely will do it with their children because this is what they saw. My child, when he was 11, said, "Oh, Mama, I can't wait to get married." I was like, "You little chicken, you're just 11. Why?" It's like, because we would want to dump our children with you the way you dump us with grandma, so that you can go off on a honeymoon with your baba. And, but it's that growing up seeing so much love and affection around. They love that so much. Even today, the two boys were talking about marriage, and then an argument ensued. These are not small boys, 21 and 18. And this one, the younger one, said he's going to get married first. Like, he can't wait to be married. And I was laughing.
They have gotten the right information about marriage.
Well, with those,
I
do. All right, with those words, thank you, Miriam, Halima, Enobong, and Mr. Kevin Fineface. We've been talking today about coping with long-distance relationships here in the conversation room. If you have any thoughts on the issue, we would love to hear from you, as our social media handles are available on the screen. We hope to see you again soon in the room. Thank you so much, and have a good day.